Hey guys, welcome back to Vlogmas. So today we are going to be revisiting my 2020 yearly makeup favorites. So every year in December I share my tippy top favorite products from the year, and every year I also like to go back and revisit last year's favorites to talk about whether or not I still love them, maybe I've fallen out of love with them. So that's what we're going to do today. These are all the products that were my top favorites from last year, and I have to say some of these I have since used up and I have not repurchased them. Others I've kind of fallen out of love with, and some of them are definitely still holy grails. So I had two primer favorites last year, and one of them was the CoverGirl Vitalist Go Glow Luminizing Lotion. That one I did pan last year, and that one seems to be pretty much discontinued. I think you can still find it on Walmart's website, but seems like CoverGirl has kind of phased that one out. The other primer was the NYX High Glass Primer, and I do still have that one. Now, last year, as you can tell, I was very into glowy, luminous primers because those were what both of my favorites were. And honestly, in 2021, I've really moved away from using face primers most days anyway, and I have kind of gotten to the point where I don't really see much of a purpose in using glowy primers because that's kind of what my skincare and my sunscreen is for. If I want a glowy finish, I'll opt for like a glowy sunscreen, maybe a glowy foundation. So I just don't really feel like glowy primers make that much sense in my routine anymore. Now, the NYX High Glass Primer, I do still like it. I do still recommend it if you like glowy primers. And this is a nice one because it doesn't feel or look too greasy on your skin. It just gives you kind of a nice lit from within glow. I have the shade Moonbeam in this one. It does come in a few different shades. This is the lightest shade. It's just a nice kind of pearly, luminous primer. It is really pretty. I just have not been using it a whole lot because, like I said, I just haven't really been that into primers this year. I feel like nowadays, if I am reaching for a primer, it's going to be one that maybe helps the longevity of my makeup, a gripping primer, or kind of a smoothing, pore blurring primer. So as far as primers go, my preferences really have changed over the last year. A lot of my base preferences have actually changed in the last year. Even though I loved the CoverGirl Go Glow primer when I had it, I think that if I still had that now, I would not be as into it as I was last year. And then speaking of base products, I also had two favorite foundations last year, and they were both drugstore. One was the Pacifica, a light clean foundation, and one was the Physicians Formula Healthy Foundation. And I think I mentioned the Physicians Formula Healthy Foundation just because it truly was a favorite, even though it's a brand that I haven't been purchasing from for the past couple of years now, ever since their cruelty-free status kind of went into the muddy gray area. But both of those foundations I used up this year, and I haven't repurchased either of them. Obviously, I haven't repurchased the Physicians Formula one. I would definitely if it were still cruelty-free, because that was my holy grail foundation for a long time. I love that one. It was such a great foundation I could always count on to look good on my skin, no matter what was going on with my skin. The Pacifica foundation is an interesting one. I went through a lot of ups and downs with that foundation. Obviously, last year, I really fell in love with it, which is why I included it in my year-end favorites. But then in 2021, I rolled it into my project pan, and I did use it up. But once I finished it, I kind of just felt sort of meh about it. I felt like once I started tretinoin and my skin was having a lot more dry patches, a lot of peeling from the tretinoin, that foundation did not look great on my skin during those times. And it was interesting because it was a very hydrating foundation, very dewy, like one of the dewiest foundations I've ever used, but it didn't look good on dry, textured skin. So I think the conclusion I came to with that one was that it looks really good when your skin is in good shape, you're not dealing with a lot of texture, breakouts, or dry patches, but otherwise it's not a very reliable one because it can kind of make any kind of texture look worse. So that one is no longer a favorite. I don't think I'll repurchase it. At this time last year, when I did include it in my yearly favorites, I think my skin was just a lot better. It wasn't very textured, I wasn't having a ton of dryness, not a ton of breakouts, so that was obviously why I liked it so much back then. So moving on to concealers, I actually had three concealer favorites last year. The first one was a high-end concealer, and it was the Too Faced Born This Way concealer. I did use up that concealer this year. That was one of my biggest project panning achievements of 2021. You know, if you have that concealer, it comes with a ton of product, but that was a really good concealer, good high coverage. I could count on it to not look dry or crepey on my under eyes. I haven't repurchased it just because there are other brands I would like to try next. The other concealer is one that is no longer sold. It was the Jordana Take Cover Concealer. That was a great kind of medium coverage one that was very hydrating and just a beautiful formula. I do miss that one, but of course I haven't been able to repurchase it. I'm sure if it were still in my collection, I would probably still love it. The third concealer I do still have, and it's the NYX Born to Glow Concealer in Alabaster. This is another nice kind of light to medium coverage concealer. And most days I do opt for a high coverage concealer just because I do have pretty significant dark circles and I just prefer something with slightly higher coverage. Also, I have the shade Alabaster in this, and I think I could probably go up about one shade because this is a little bit too light for me, and sometimes I feel like when concealers are too light, I'm less likely to love the way they look on me, even if it's a formula I do really like. So I still really enjoy the formula of this, especially for maybe more minimal makeup days or days when I just don't want or need as much coverage on my under eyes. It has a really nice texture. It's very thin and lightweight, and I find that it doesn't crease on my under eyes nearly as much as other concealers do. So I do still really enjoy this concealer. I just would prefer to have a slightly deeper shade, and also it's not one that I'm reaching for all the time these days. I had one powder favorite last year, and I no longer have this one. I did use it up. I think I used it up last year actually, but it was the e.l.f. HD powder in Soft Luminance. I still have very fond memories of that powder. I just haven't repurchased it because I have quite a few powders I would like to use up first. Probably enough powders to get me through the next like year and a half, honestly. But that was a really nice loose powder. It had a little bit of a glow to it, and it never made my skin look too powdery. So I would still like to repurchase it eventually. I've also heard really good things about the e.l.f. Halo Glow Setting Powder, so that might be the one I try next. Getting into cheek products now, my favorite for both contour and highlight was the Oma Beauty Double Take Contour and Highlight Stick, and I have the shade White Pearl. I still love this product. So White Pearl is the lightest shade. It comes with a nice kind of neutral to cool contour shade and kind of a rose gold highlighter. This is so smooth and creamy and buttery. You can just glide it directly on your skin and blend it out with a finger, a brush, a sponge, whatever you prefer. It's just a foolproof, effortless product, and I do still love it so much. I also still love my blush favorite from last year, and it was the Cloven Hallow Hydra Tint Serum Blush in Blossom. This is such a beautiful blush. Again, effortless, foolproof, the perfect tone. I love this just kind of cool toned, soft pink blush. I can't mess this up on my skin. This kind of does mimic just the natural color of my cheeks when they're a little bit flushed, and yeah, it's just, I can't say enough good things about it. I still love this one. Cloven Hallow did rebrand this year, and I just realized that it looks like they're no longer selling this. You can still buy it on like the Detox Market, Grove it looks like has it, but I don't think they have it on their website anymore, which makes me really sad. It looks like they've replaced this with like cream blush pans, but this is such a good liquid blush. I'm surprised that they discontinued this. I didn't realize until just now. Oh, that makes me really sad. Okay, well, I still love it though. I also had two setting spray favorites. This is another category like primers where I've really just kind of moved away from using them every day. I'll still occasionally use a setting spray, and I feel like there's probably a setting spray out there that I feel like would suit me better right now. But like I said, my skin's changed a lot this year. I used to have just straight up normal to dry skin. This year it's been more combination. Like I definitely am prone to my makeup breaking down in my T-zone. I do get a little bit oily in my T-zone, especially in the summer this year I did, but I also have a lot of dry patches, so it's just, yeah, just true combination skin now. But my favorite setting sprays last year were the e.l.f. Dewy Setting Mist and the Pixi Glow Mist. The e.l.f. Dewy Setting Mist I used up this year. They discontinued that, and I think they replaced it with their Dewy Coconut Setting Mist, which I think is probably the same thing, but I haven't tried it, so I can't compare for sure, but I really liked that one. I just haven't been as into dewy setting mists either. I don't know. So I haven't gotten around to repurchasing that or a replacement. And the other favorite of mine last year was the Pixi Glow Mist. This was a holy grail favorite of mine for at least 2 years. I do still have it. I have it in this NYX bottle that I took the label off of, but my Pixi is actually the Pixi Rose Glow Mist. That bottle stopped working, so I put it into here, and there's really not much left in here. This is another product I've kind of fallen out of love with. I do still feel like there is a time and place for me to use this, but this is a very dewy setting spray. It has oil in it even, so I really have to use this conservatively now, like just 1 or 2 spritzes total for my whole face, but otherwise I just feel like it makes my skin a little bit too shiny. And I also feel like my base finish preferences have changed. I used to be all glowy all the way, and now I'm kind of in this more like moderate zone now. I don't like fully matte skin, but I don't like the super dewy, overly glowy skin. I definitely think now for my current skin there is such a thing as like too much glow, which I never used to feel that way before. So now I'm kind of into like a soft matte or a soft like satin finish or skin-like finish, but I prefer not to go too glowy, and I just feel like the Pixi Glow Mist, it's a little too glowy on me now. I've also not been into like a tacky feel on my face, and that is a setting spray that definitely gives your skin like a little bit of an oily, tacky sort of feel. The thing I always loved about the Pixi Glow Mist was that whenever I felt like there was a part of my skin that looked a little bit separated or dry or like cakey, it would just kind of immediately fix that. And I do still feel like it does that. And so whenever I am in need of something like that, I will use it, but I use it very sparingly. So go figure. I never thought I would say this, but I think I have kind of fallen out of love with the Pixi Glow Mist. So, and just setting sprays in general, setting sprays, finishing sprays, I don't really feel like I need them. All right, now getting into some eyeshadows. I had some drugstore favorites as well as a high-end palette favorite. So one favorite last year was the e.l.f. Bite Size Quad in Rose Water. Hey guys, okay, so it's me from the future, aka the present, because I pre-filmed this video several weeks in advance, and my opinion on this e.l.f. Rose Water Quad has completely changed since I filmed this video, so I thought I would just go ahead and give you my updated thoughts here in this format. I no longer like the e.l.f. Rose Water Quad. I feel like it's just no longer performing as well as it once did. I have had to repress 2 of the shades. One of the shades I've had to repress twice, but even the shades I have not had to repress, I feel like I struggle to get them to show up on my eyes now, and that never used to be the case. So maybe that's why it's $3, because it expires quickly. I don't know, but it's just not performing well anymore. I have to like build and build and build to get them to show up on my eyes. So I have fallen out of love with this quad and never thought I'd say that either, but yeah, it used to be, like last year when I first got it, I couldn't stop using it, and now I just feel like it's changed. So there's my updated thoughts. And then my drugstore palette pick from last year was also from e.l.f., and it was the e.l.f. Earth and Ocean palette. This I've had since 2019, I think, and I still love this palette just as much as I did. I think this is such a drugstore gem. Beautiful formula. To me, this is the best one of the e.l.f. 18 pan palettes, at least that I've tried. The new Classics and Opposites Attract I also used to have, but I eventually decluttered them just because I felt like the formula was lagging a little bit behind this one. I think they really improved it with this palette. I also just love the color story. It's got so many unique shades in here that I don't have elsewhere in my collection. It's a great year-round palette. I feel like it's beautiful for spring with like the blues and greens, but then you've also got some nice earthy tones for a neutral look, so very versatile. Still love this one, very much still a favorite of mine. And then my high-end palette favorite last year, as you probably remember, was the Urban Decay Stone Vibes palette. I couldn't stop talking about this palette last year. Unfortunately, this was limited edition. You can still find it at certain retailers, and certain countries do still have it available, so you may be able to still get your hands on it if you really want it. I so wish that this were a permanent palette, because I think this is one of the best palettes Urban Decay has put out in a long time. Typically, I am not a fan of Urban Decay shimmers, but these are so beautiful. They're this kind of cushiony texture. They've got this really beautiful, almost like scattered glitter effect to them. They're not pressed glitters. They're more the feel of like a ColourPop Super Shock shadow, like that kind of squishy cream powder hybrid sort of texture. I've already hit pan on the shade Tiger's Eye. That is my favorite shade in here, so I've still been using it a ton this year, and I still love it so much. I also had 2 mascara favorites last year. The drugstore one was the e.l.f. Keep Your Curl Mascara. That is another product that was sadly discontinued. I cannot believe that they discontinued that mascara. It was so good. $5. My kind of brush, kind of a small curved plastic bristle brush. It was great for volume, length, separation. It didn't smudge. It was just an all-around gem of a mascara. I'm so sad they got rid of it. Now they have they came out with 2 new mascaras this year. Lash It Loud I don't like at all, and I haven't tried the Big Mood. I don't think I would like it because I don't typically like that kind of brush. So anyway, I'm a little salty towards e.l.f. for getting rid of that one. I'm sure I would still love it if I could get it now. The other mascara was the Urban Decay Lash Freak mascara. And I very rarely go for high-end mascaras, but this is one I actually did repurchase. I ended up buying the mini. It was on sale on their website for $11, and it's normally $13. And the only time I will go for a high-end mascara is if I feel like it really does something different or special or really far outperforms my drugstore mascaras, and this one does. It's a very unique mascara. The brush is very odd looking, and this is the most intense mascara I've ever used. It really does make you look like you're wearing false lashes. It gives extreme volume, extreme length, not so much separation. It can be a little bit clumpy, and it is a little bit of a high maintenance mascara, but I don't mind that because I like just a very dramatic mascara. So I'm really excited to have that one back in my life. It's such a good mascara, and I just feel like there's nothing else quite like it on the market. Again, if you don't like almost a scary, like intense looking mascara, stay far away, but if you like crazy dramatic lashes, it's a good one. For brow favorites last year, I had the ABH Dip Brow Pomade in taupe. I'm going on 2 years with the same one. I still have a ton left, although I have hit major pan on it. I'm guessing I probably have another year left of this, and I use this just about every single day that I wear makeup, so I still love it. Still hasn't dried out on me, and yeah, it's just a great bang for your buck product. The shade taupe is perfect for my brows, so this is very much still a favorite. Still use it every day. My other brow favorite was the e.l.f. Wow Brow in taupe, and I've actually also moved away from using brow gels. Although the e.l.f. Wow Brow is still really good, I used that up earlier this year and I've not repurchased it because I have now started using a brow wax for kind of the same purpose. So I discovered the e.l.f. Shape and Stay Brow Wax this year. It's like a crayon. And this is nice because I'll sort of draw it through my brows before I fill them in, and it kind of pushes them into place into the shape that I want, and it does provide enough hold for me. Now, I'm not somebody that needs like intense, strong hold in my brows. If you do, then this may not be right for you, but I find that this kind of takes away the need for a brow gel because it serves a similar purpose as far as hold. It's just a little bit different, and I have an easier time filling in my brows when I use this first because it just gives me the shape I need. So I would say the e.l.f. Wow Brow is no longer a favorite. Maybe I'll get back into brow gel one day, and if so, I will probably get the e.l.f. Wow Brow again because it is just a really good option. Alright, so last but not least we have lip products. Some of these I still own and some I don't, but my drugstore lipstick favorite last year was the e.l.f. Moisturizing Lipstick, and I specifically talked about the shades Flirty and Fabulous and Red Carpet. Red Carpet I actually decluttered in my last declutter video because the bullet kind of came loose and it started leaning over, and I just find that very annoying. That's kind of a deal breaker for me. I do still have the shade Flirty and Fabulous, and thankfully this one has not done that yet, knock on wood, because I do really enjoy the shade and formula. I still love the formula of these. It lives up to the name. It's moisturizing, very comfortable. You can apply them kind of sheer, but you can also build them up to be more opaque if you want. So it seems like e.l.f. has also discontinued their moisturizing lipsticks. You can still find a few shades here and there, but unfortunately they're getting harder to find, which is a bummer. But I would say I now prefer the e.l.f. Seriously Satin lipsticks, although the packaging of those is not as good. They do break easily, but the formula isn't as soft, so it's not as prone to like coming loose in there, and they've got some really good shades of that. So that's kind of my new favorite, even though I do still really enjoy the formula of these. And then my high-end lipstick favorite I no longer own. I talked about the Ofra Flexi Slick lipsticks, and I have talked about it a few times, but I did sort of phase Ofra out of my collection just because it's not a brand that I want to promote on my channel. If you want to know more about that, you can Google Ofra controversy and, read for yourself, form your own opinion, but those are no longer a favorite for me. Then I had a couple of lip gloss favorites, again, a drugstore and a high-end. My drugstore favorite was the Milani Keep It Full Nourishing Lip Plumper in Soft Rose. I have fallen back in love with this so hard recently, so I actually went a while this year without really using this, just because I was trying to pan some other lip glosses, but I recently got back into this and I cannot get enough of this lip gloss now. It's really the color of this that I love so much. It's this perfect, like, slightly cooler toned nude pink, and this actually goes beautifully with the Jordana lip liner in Rock and Rose, which of course you can no longer get Jordana. So sad, I'm gonna have to find a dupe for this, but this was my lip liner favorite last year. These two together make the most perfect combo because it's just like that perfectly contoured nude lip. The lip liner is just slightly deeper than the gloss, but it's a very similar kind of tone, and they just look so beautiful together. So these are very much still favorites. The Milani Keep It Full lip glosses, beautiful. I kind of do want more shades, although I'm gonna have to hold off on that because I have enough lipsticks that I would like to use up first. And then my high-end lip gloss I also still love. This is the Bite Yaysayer gloss in Sugar Drizzle. I've talked about before, I just really love the packaging of this. I find it very satisfying that you can see exactly how much you have left. You're going to be able to get every last bit out of there without having to remove the stopper. I love how sanitary the tip is. You can easily clean it off, and you're not mixing in other lip colors in there like you would with a doe foot gloss. So I still love the packaging and I still love the gloss itself. The shade Sugar Drizzle is a clear gloss with a little bit of a gold shimmer to it. The shimmer is not too weird or intense or anything, it just gives a nice shine. This is supposed to be a plumping gloss, and this, actually both of these are plumping glosses. The Milani one definitely gives like that cooling sensation to your lips. The Bite one does not. I think they say this has cinnamon in it to kind of act as like a natural lip plumper, but there's no like tingly sensation or anything with this. I feel like I've yet to try a lip plumping gloss that like actually makes my lips bigger and plumper, but I feel like any gloss is going to give you just a little bit of a plump look because they kind of smooth out the lines of your lips and just give them a fullness. So that's how I feel about this one. I think it's a beautiful formula, and I do eventually want to get some more shades of this because I just love the packaging so much. I think the only category that I didn't have any favorites in last year was eyeliner, actually. But this year I've gotten a lot more into eyeliner, so I am going to have some eyeliner favorites in this year's favorites. But at some point towards the end of December, I will have my 2021 makeup favorites going up, so I will share my updated top favorites from the year. But that is kind of where these products are now. Some of them not so much favorites anymore, but some of them are definitely still some of my top favorites. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you're enjoying Vlogmas, and hopefully I will talk to you again tomorrow in my next video. Bye.